coverage that didn't flatter the president. Oh my gosh, horrible. You didn't flatter the president. You can't have media accent. That's a high crime and misdemeanor, apparently. He also sued media outlets who publish content that the president doesn't agree with. And he has launched baseless investigations into the president's perceived political enemies. In one instance, the president's FCC chair, Brendan Carr, threatened to revoke the broadcast licenses of ABA affiliates over comments made by a comedian. Oh my gosh, horrible. Comedian comments. Revoke that license. President didn't like the comedy. Let's be clear, these acts are unprecedented in American history. And they rightfully raise alarms, I think, for every American. Thousands of Michiganders have reached out to my office saying that we must hold the Trump administration accountable to ensure that these abuses of power are not left unchecked. And I certainly hope that the chairman of this committee and members of the committee will devote their efforts to examining these abuses that I mentioned, regardless of who commits them, because we must all stand up for First Amendment rights in the face of unprecedented overreach. And it's right to call out wherever we see it, no matter who is saying it, no matter what administration. But let's not ignore what we're seeing in front of us right now, constantly in the media. So, Mr. Kimmelman, a quick question. After threatening regulatory action against ABC affiliates, if it did not suspend Jimmy Kimmel, FCC Chair Brendan Carr said, quote, "If you're going to have a license from the FCC, we expect you to broadly serve the public interest," end of quote. So my question for you, sir, is there precedent for the FCC using the public interest, convenience, and necessity standard in the Communications Act to stifle First Amendment protected speech? And how has the FCC historically interpreted the public interest? How is this different?
No, not to my knowledge, Senator. The FCC has used, it's a public interest standard. The FCC has used it very carefully. There's specific direction in the Communications Act beyond the Constitution itself of Congress reminding the FCC not to stifle speech, not to impede First Amendment rights. And the FCC has been very careful in that regard.
So the comments made by the current FCC chair is simply unprecedented in all of your knowledge of past actions.
In my experience, Senator, I've been doing this for more than 45 years. I have never seen anything like that.
That's perhaps why it was so shocking to Americans all over this country, but apparently not to some individuals serving in the U.S. Senate. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, before I begin, one of my colleagues raised a letter that was sent to the FCC back in 2018 that was signed by Democrats. I don't know how many of you know who the chair of the FCC was in 2018. Do any of you know? Does the name Ajit Pai sound familiar? Do you know who was president in 2018? Donald Trump. I'm sorry if I stumped you all. It was Chairman Pai that denied this thing. And Chairman Pai, in his order, he said something along the lines of, what was submitted to the FCC lacked candor. It's funny to me how there's so many legal ways to call a lie a lie. When the FCC says a submission lacks candor, it means that it intentionally provided false or misleading information, omitting crucial facts. Just so that the record's straight. Mr. Volek, just a few weeks ago, the Federal Communication Commission Chairman Brendan Carr made several statements. You've heard a lot of them today, with regulatory action over remarks made by Jimmy Kimmel if they, quote, didn't take action. In his own words, Chairman Carr said, quote, "We can do this the easy way or the hard way." Now, to be clear, ABC can suspend Jimmy Kimmel's show for whatever reason they want. However, the fact pattern that led ABC to suspend Jimmy Kimmel's show involved a government official, in this case, FCC Chair Carr, making direct threats. As you have written, quote, "But if the government coerced ABC into suspending the show through threats or of retaliation, that would have likely violated the First Amendment." Yes or no, if ABC acted to remove Jimmy Kimmel because of FCC Chairman Carr's threats, would Carr's actions violate the First Amendment?
Yes, I think so.
Unfortunately, the events from a few weeks ago related to Kimmel's show was not the first time that Chairman Carr has weaponized the FCC against broadcasters since he took office. Mr. Kimmelman, I'd like for you to help get some facts on the record. I think you answered these to Chairman Markey, but questions sometimes need to be heard twice. And as the response is, did President Biden ever direct Chair Rosenworcel to investigate a media company, pull their license, and impose the maximum fines and punishment? By the way, that's a quote from Donald Trump, for their unlawful and illegal behavior immediately after threatening to sue that company?
No, Senator.
Did President Biden suggest Chair Rosenworcel should revoke broadcaster licenses for giving him, quote, bad publicity?
No, sir.
Did Chairman Carr reinstate complaints against NBC, ABC, and CBS for election coverage that were dismissed by the prior FCC?
Yes, Senator.
Did Chairman Carr launch investigations into local NPR, PBS stations alleging that they could be violating federal law by airing commercials?
Yes, Senator.
Has Chairman Carr openly threatened to remove Comcast broadcast license over news coverage?
Yes, Senator.
Now, look, what's disappointing is that's just a sample of what's recently happened. And I appreciate this hearing. I think this is a good hearing. When President Trump has developed a habit of suing media companies if they report or publish content he doesn't like. He sued CNN, ABC, CBS, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. I mean, it goes on and on. Trump even sued the Pulitzer Prize winner to the New York Times and Washington Post for their reporting about Russian interference in the 2016 election. Now, some of the media companies, such as ABC and CBS, chose to settle. Others are still fighting. Even if a lawsuit is baseless, what effect does it have on the opposing party, Mr. Kimmelman?
Senator, it has an enormous chilling effect, even as you've heard from my colleagues on this panel here in a different context. It's overwhelming to take on the government. Even if you think you can vindicate your rights, it's daunting task, and it tends to pull people away from presenting the views, are actually trying to vindicate their rights, because it is such an overwhelmingly costly endeavor.
Let me chime in really quick. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. This is something that the Democrats are trying to act like the censorship never happened before, like no Americans were censored, or they give an excuse for Americans to be censored, and they don't see the problem. Now, this has been going on for a few hours now. What's amazing to me is that the Democrats are saying that, all the censorship took place with President Trump. And what the Biden administration did, that's water under the bridge. Why are you bringing that up? You can't go back in time and change any of that. So they don't want people to address the issue of the big tech companies listening to the federal government and censoring the American people. They actually violated our constitutional rights. The government did. But that's old news. That's water under the bridge. Again, why would you be so concerned about that? This is what these Democrats are saying. This is the most infuriating thing. And you know what? If President Trump wasn't back in the White House and the Republicans didn't have control over the House and the Senate, this wouldn't even be happening. This discussion wouldn't even be coming up. They wouldn't care, because they know what President Trump did not make any phone calls. There's been no emails. There's been no text messages. There's been no voicemails of President Trump saying, take Jimmy Kimmel off the air. There's nothing. Jimmy Kimmel his ratings were failing. And the Democrats, the only reason why they rallied behind Jimmy Kimmel, because if they can get him back on, they can finally have something that they won at, because they've been losing at everything. This is what this is about. This is crazy that the Democrats, with the Orwellian totalitarian attacks on the American people, think that we're not seeing what they're doing. Let's go back to it.
The tale of two realities. Republicans continue to call for hearings like it's business as usual, while Americans are literally living in the midst of a shutdown that jeopardizes their health, that jeopardizes their jobs, and the services that Americans rely on.
Then why don't you get the Democrats to say yes to open the government? All the Republicans say yes. The Democrats are saying no.
And restoring people's health care. So today I want to use my time to remind all of us what is at stake. We're in a pivotal moment. Energy costs are up.
Okay, so she's going to go.
Food prices are up. The rent has gone up.
Okay, so she's going to go on a tirade on why the Republicans need to give in to the demands of the Democrats by having health care for illegal aliens. I want to talk a little bit more about the censorship, because that's what this hearing's about. A lot of Democrats, they want to deflect and they don't want to talk about the actual issue. They don't want to talk about the elephant in the room. Now, this is something that I've done, and I'm encourage everyone, if you could please, go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com. You know what? It's interesting that I just did this like the other day. Last week, I wrote a letter to President Trump. And if you go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com, and scroll down just a little bit, you can see right here. I didn't know that they were getting ready to have this hearing. I had no idea. So I wrote this letter to President Trump, and it says, help me reach President Trump over big tech tyranny. Actually, I need to go and update that. Help me reach President Trump over government big tech tyranny, because that's what happened. The government censored people like Will Johnson. They censored thousands, if not millions of people. I know for a fact that they removed millions of videos on YouTube alone. They're still doing the censorship. So if you go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com, this is what I've done. I put a letter on here, and you just click on the PDF file. And when you go to that PDF file, you can see here at the top, right here, it's a letter saying, Dear Mr. President, I'm writing you on behalf of Will Johnson, a fellow American whose voice was and livelihood have been unfortunately silenced by big tech. Please help him in his fight for justice and fairness. Below is the letter he sent sharing his story, a urgent plea for action. And then right there, best regards, and you sign it. If you would, please, cost you a stamp, put it in the mail. Because if we can get 100 people, just 100 people to send this letter, right? And here's the letter. There's my address right there. It has all the information in here. This is the letter that I sent to President Trump, except for, just to be full transparency here, I took some personal information out of this letter, personal information. But other than that, this is the exact letter that I sent President Trump. And if you would, please, I'm asking you, please download this by going to my website, uniteamericafirst.com. Click on the PDF, download it, print it out, send it to President Trump. Send it to President Trump. Because if President Trump, look, they're having this hearing right now about the very thing that they're doing to us. And these Democrats want to act like we're not the ones doing this. This is President Trump. President Trump hasn't done it. And the FCC, they didn't even do it. They're all trying to use their line, and they're trying to use Jimmy Kimmel to say that President Trump is hindering free speech. PBS, Public Broadcast System, you know who's funding that? We the people. We the people were funding that. And PBS was pushing leftist propaganda on the American people. That shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't exist. PBS, same thing with NPR. Same thing. All of these government entity media outlets is pushing all this leftist propaganda onto the American people, and we were paying for it. I don't want a single penny. And the penny's not even worth the copper it's printed on. I don't want a single dime, penny, quarter, nickel, it doesn't matter, going to any leftist organization pushing their radical leftist propaganda. I should have a say-so in it. And now they're upset because they're not able to target people with their propaganda. This is what all this is about. So please, for those of you who've been watching me, for those of you who have seen me being getting censored, they used to censor me. They used to censor my voice. Simply when I would be on here and I would use my voice, did you know that they would put copyright strikes on my voice like it wasn't my voice? And I'm like, this is crazy. No music, no videos of nothing, just me talking. And they would hit me with a copyright strike. How? Last time I looked, I owned my voice. Well, according to Democrats, black people don't own anything, but Democrats own us. I guess that's what they were thinking, since they still feel in their mind that they should own me because I'm a black American in this country. It's really disgusting. So please, if you would, go to my website. I'm literally begging people, download this letter, sign it, email it, or you can even email it, copy and email it if you have to. But please, mail this to President Trump. I'm just asking, it would be a blessing if I can get 100 people. On my Facebook page right now, there's over 377,000 people on my Facebook page. There's over 100,000 connected to my YouTube channel. And then I have Rumble. I forget how many on there. Thousands of people on Rumble, thousands of people on X. I'm asking, please. I don't know if anyone else has done this. I don't know if anyone else said, hey, President Trump sent letters to President Trump. I don't know if anyone's asked others to help them send this. I could be the first one. I don't know. I have yet to see it. I mean, if you've seen it, by all means, let me know in the chat. But I have yet to see it. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about that briefly. So we're going to go back to some of this hearing that's going on right now. Because they're the Democrats, again, they're saying what the censorship that was taking place under Joe Biden is water under the bridge. Why are you talking about that? It's what's happening right now, right? Now they have a problem with it when it's not even happening. They're making it up.
Which is why they're given the Section 230 protections in the first place, correct?
Well, I do think that is a good model as a pass-through platform. But AI cannot be to be effective at pass-through platform. It has to make decisions that we hope are decisions in favor of more accurate information. Otherwise, the government as user of AI will be constantly deceived by it. So I think in this procurement capacity, the government needs to be able to insist that the AI companies do what it takes to provide more accurate information and to fight, indeed, misinformation in their own output. That is something that is required. And indeed, AI companies don't have Section 230 immunity in that
correct.
Context.
And I think this is going to be a big issue, whether you call it woke AI, whatever. The previous administration, one of the untold stories to lock in, and I actually agree with Mr. Kimmelman on this point, to lock in the incumbents and the monopolies in exchange for that was to have algorithms that locked in this bias. And that is a very, very dangerous road to go down. So I don't think this is the last we're going to be. It's not really the purpose of this hearing, but since we're having the discussion, I think is really kind of an interesting and important thing. So Senator Hickenlooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I agree completely that what we should be looking at is the algorithms as much as the speech, because those algorithms are going to control what we get. And in a funny way, that's an abrasive and intrusive form of speech that has almost nothing to do with your freedoms. Let me just start just by saying that the First Amendment to most of us is the bedrock of our country. It's a bedrock of a healthy democracy. It protects people from government censorship at every level. It provides free speech, but whether you're Democrats are in power, remain united in these the fundamental society. People in this country minds without government, not from government, not from companies acting under political influence. What worries me is that some claim to defend free speech only when it helps their political party and ignore it when it silences others. And I think it's worth reiterating that we're not here to pick sides. It's to make sure that we protect everyone's right to speak freely, no matter who they are, what they believe, or what they are saying. Let me start just by talking a little bit about campus. I went to a small liberal arts college in Middletown, Connecticut, the famous Wesleyan University. And they, like every school, had to navigate a lot of this in the last couple years. We've seen an increase in people calling for imposing bans on peaceful organizing related to issues such as the war in Gaza or Black Lives Matter. I think we also need to recognize our duty to protect the rights of conservative views that are expressed on college campuses. I know the Wesleyans worked very hard to make sure that they get both sides, but not everyone has. And whether we agree or disagree with each other, our right to that freedom of speech should be defended loudly and consistently. I think as long as we all feel that our safety is protected from threats of violence, unconscionable violence. So let me start, Mr. Berenson. Regardless of ideology, As long as individuals or groups are not inciting violence with the intent to harm others, should they not have the same rights to free speech?
Yes.
Not a very complicated question, but it's one of those ones that I feel like the more times you can ask it on the record, each time you do that, it builds a little bit of a better foundation. Mr. Davis, you've defended conservative speech online. Would you extend that same defense to college students expressing their views about the U.S. foreign policy or calling for racial justice if their speech was censored by a state government?
Yeah, I don't think American citizens should be subjected to censorship by their government anywhere for any reason.
Just want to make sure that's on the record. I was pretty sure what that is.
Let's be clear about something. It's only been the left that's been advocating for violence against American people. It's only been the left advocating violence to these students going to college universities. I mean, really, what do you think it means when they say from the river to the sea? What do you think that means? It doesn't mean that we're going to hold hands.
And counter foreign propaganda. They're especially important. These efforts are especially important when it comes to stopping these disinformation campaigns that oftentimes are trying to interfere in our elections. Under the first Trump administration, the FCC even proposed to require the mandatory disclosure of all foreign-sponsored content broadcast over TV or radio. Again, there are some that argue that that disclosure would, in fact, be a form of limitation.
Wait a minute, weren't they complaining, saying that Russia was buying ads on social media? They were all complaining. Did y'all get what he just said, or did I misunderstood? He's basically complaining that President Trump was looking at foreign entity buying ads in America, and what's the purpose? It's like they're buying ads in America for their propaganda. So they complain about Russia supposedly putting memes on social media. Really? So now is it a problem now, or is it not a problem?
To go down a slippery slope and you start interfering in American speech. So I think you have to be very careful.
That's where that question comes from, especially when sometimes that disinformation is our foreign rivals or adversaries, Iran, Russia, China. Last question, Mr. Volokh. Isn't there a difference between coercive threats and agencies actually sharing factual information about foreign disinformation campaigns? And I think one example of this would be Russia's 2016 interference efforts. And would you recommend the U.S. government simply stop investigating foreign interference on our elections altogether? Or, you know, if we were to do that, what would that do? Would that help or harm our democracy?
So there is a difference between coercion and kind of other non-coercive communication. The coercion would be a First Amendment violation. The others may or may not be, depending, I think, on how systemic they are. I do think that, indeed, we've seen lots of situations throughout American history where attempts to try to suppress foreign influence have turned into attempts to suppress domestic dissent, including in the examples you gave of some people who are trying to suppress, I think wrongly trying to suppress anti-Israel speech on campuses, are arguing, oh, these people are the cat's paws of Hamas and such. So I do think that even to the extent it's permissible for the government to communicate with the platforms, I think it's important that there be as much transparency as is possible, consistently with national security, and that it's especially dangerous when when the government is trying to do that, and then nobody finds out about it for years or until somebody manages to break the logjam in a lawsuit using discovery.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, if I can ask one more question, I'll just be a yes, no, because this is one that I never really followed. I had, until I was partners with a woman, remarkable woman named Joyce Meskis. I had a bookstore in Denver called The Tattered Cover. And she was a great defender of free speech. And she looked at it in that sense of your speech is part of what you read. And you should be able to read whatever you want without government interference or knowing about it. And there was a domestic terrorist who had had a bomb. They were pretty sure that he had purchased the book on how to make this bomb at her bookstore. And she refused to give the information over what her customers had purchased. And I just wanted to see with each of you whether you think that's, in that situation, whether that's appropriate or not. And it's pretty much what it was. They wanted to find out whether this guy had bought that book from the bookstore as part of the case. And she said, you don't need that case. You got to.
Okay, so can we apply the same concept to Antifa when they're out there buying stuff to harm other people in America? You know, the same Antifa that's been designated as a terrorist organization in America. Can we apply the same thing to them? Can we get, okay, what store, what Walmart, or what store did this Trans-Tifa member, where did he purchase his or her mask? Where did they purchase this stuff? You know, the Democrats on the Joe Biden, they were actually, the FBI wanted to know who was buying Bibles. I think it was at Mardell's. They wanted to know who was buying Bibles. Are you kidding me? See, there's still a level of freedom, even if we don't like it. If they want to go purchase something, maybe they're doing a research paper on something, you cannot prevent them. And why should the government need that information? This is just them giving a gateway. See, this is what it is. Give the doorway to allow us to see who's buying what, just so that way we can come in and see who we want to go after. Who's buying Bibles? That's what they're going to get to. Who's buying Bibles? They've already done it once. The Democrats did.
The Supreme Court obviously did support her, and that this was part of the free speech that should be protected. And I guess most of you disagreed with that, so you can feel some comfort that precedence doesn't seem to be that all powerful in the present court. So there's certainly a chance in a similar situation we might get a different ruling.
Thank you.
I yield back.
Senator. Thank you all. I want to thank all the witnesses for their testimony here today. Senators will have until the close of business on October.
Okay, so that's the end of it. So, man, I had no idea that they were going to be talking about this big tech censorship coming today. And I just want to remind everybody again, if you would please go to my website, help me send this letter, help me get this letter to reach President Trump's desk. You know, maybe your letter will be the one that makes it to President Trump's desk. Maybe yours will be the one, you know, because, you know, the post office, there's still a lot of liberals in the post office, and they probably see a whole bunch of mail with President Trump's name going to the White House, and they probably make a whole bunch of mail disappear. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. I hope that's not the case, but it wouldn't surprise me. The way liberals are, they want to silence free speech. They want to silence people's voices. So this is why I'm asking you, please go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com. And as I talked about it just a second ago, if you go to my website, and once you get to my website, it's really simple. I try to make this simple. This is what you first see when you get to my website. The top of the page, you'll see different ways you can support me. You see the shows that I do throughout the day. And then just below that, you can see the letter that I wrote to President Trump. And I'm asking you, if you would please click on that PDF, download that PDF, sign the letter yourself, and send it to President Trump. One of us will make it to President Trump's desk. One of us will make it. So I'm just asking for your help. I'm asking for your help. I've asked people for help in the past, you know, different financial things. I'm asking you for the price of a stamp, maybe 2 stamps, depending on how close you are to DC. But the price of the stamp and the envelope, that's it. Can you please consider helping me? This is like so important. And the reason why that I wrote this letter, because even though President Trump went back into office, they're still doing the censorship. It's still happening. These big tech companies are still doing it. Look, if you're on my Facebook page right now, look how many people they're allowing to get notification and watch. If you're on my YouTube channel right now, look how many people are getting a notification or allowed to watch. On my YouTube channel, I've been taking screenshots of the subscribers that I have on my YouTube channel. And about once a week, I need to get to it's about once a week, I take a picture. And you see my play button here? You get this play button after you work extremely hard, dedicated to your channel. They'll send you one of these if you make the achievement of getting 100,000 subscribers. This is what this is. They don't send these to just anybody, at least to my understanding. I mean, they wouldn't just send it to me. I had to get 100,000 subscribers. They sent this to me. So the reason why I bring it up, because on my YouTube channel, they're constantly removing people from my channel. So I'm at 100,000. I'm like I'm at 100,900 people, something like that, right? Or 9,000 people. Yeah, not 109,000 people is on my YouTube channel. Don't quote me on the exact number, but they've been removing people. And every week I go look at it, it's been maybe around 20 to 50 people removed. And I've been taking screenshots and putting it on there. My point is they're still doing the censorship. They're still doing it. And the big tech companies are not supposed to be publishing companies. All they do, they're supposed to be an outlet for people in the virtual public square to voice their opinion on stuff. And that's the whole reason why they came up with Section 230, meaning that if you or I put something on the platform, that the platform won't be held responsible. But these platforms have taken it upon themselves to determine what can be said and what can't be said. They're taking it upon themselves. Like, well, and the thing is, the things that they don't like to hear, even though it's factual information, 100% the truth, because they don't like it, they would call it hate speech, they would call it violent speech, they would call it inciting violence, because it hurts their feelings and they don't like it. So they will take it upon themselves to try to remove us. Or even if we question the stuff that they're pushing on us. If we question the stuff that they're pushing onto us, they're like, how dare you question it? You're supposed to just take what we're telling you. How dare you? Well, we have to give credit where credit is due. When Elon Musk purchased Twitter, he purchased Twitter for one of the reasons because of free speech. The main reason is because of free speech. He saw what was happening to free speech, and he purchased it right before the 2024 election, like a year or two before that. And then people were like, oh my goodness, free speech is allowed again. And all the Democrats, they were the ones upset with that. They were upset because, oh, Elon Musk is giving the voice to conservatives. How dare he? They're so mad about it. They're still mad about it. But they were so mad about it that they created their own platform called the Echo Chamber Blue Sky. Now, the echo chamber is not in it, but that's what it is. It's an echo chamber for the liberals. So they created an echo chamber called Blue Sky where they can go on there and they get to say the most despicable, hateful, demonic things you can think of about President Trump, about conservatives, about MAGA, about Christianity, and none of them get penalized. None of them on Echo Chamber Blue Sky. Nothing they say that is against America gets penalized. It's perfectly open. But if you go on there, I guarantee it, you go on there and you express your viewpoints in reality that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, guess what will happen? They'll probably just delete your account. You understand? On Echo Chamber Blue Sky. But because Elon Musk purchased Twitter, the Democrats furious about it. They're still furious about it to the point where a lot of Democrats have jumped ship. They got off of X. They get off of X. Now, granted, there's still a lot of them on there, and a lot of them still have a huge following on X, and they put nonsense out there, propaganda, and it still goes viral on X. Why? Because Elon Musk is allowing free speech. Now, I still think that there's a whole bunch of liberals that work at X in the background and they're censoring conservatives. I'm still experiencing it there. Before I would put a picture out there and it would get 15,000, 20,000 people viewing it. Now it's probably maybe 500 people. Something just changed within the past 2 weeks. Something changed. So they're constantly, the liberals are still there. They're undermining it. And Elon Musk, he'll put something out there. Elon Musk can just put a one sentence, or he can put out a one word. He can put out the eyeballs. And within the first hour, that comment, that post will have over 1 million views. As long as Elon Musk is seeing his stuff not being censored, he's not going to see it happening to the rest of the people on the platform. You understand? That's how it works. He posts something, he's going to look at his stuff. Every now and then he'll scroll through and he'll see other stuff that's not getting censored like the rest of us. And he'll even repost their stuff or he'll make a comment on it because he's seeing it. Everybody else, that has a conservative voice, they're still getting suppressed. And Elon Musk doesn't see it. And he's never going to see it until somebody brings it to his attention. But these people that can get close to Elon Musk, they're not being censored either. So they're not going to even mention it. They're not going to even mention it. Well, listen to what they're saying here on the Communist News Network about Twitter X.
Over. And oh my goodness gracious, what a tremendous, monumental shift on the regular news consumers on Twitter/X. You go back to 2021, the party ID margin. Democrats were 37 points more likely. You were 37 points more likely to be a Democrat on Twitter or X than a Republican. Jump ahead to this side of the screen. It's completely changed around. Oh my goodness gracious. Now it's a 14-point lead for Republicans on Twitter/X. We're talking about a 51-point shift in the margin. And John and I were talking about it just before. You can see it with your own eyes. This is polling reflecting what you're seeing in the social media real world, where all of a sudden, John, you just see a lot more Republicans in your feed.
I like the word social media real world there.
It's real to me, gosh darn it.
Okay, so again, this is a huge shift. You just don't see shifts like this in general. But what about the idea that there are other social media places that Democrats can go, and maybe that they're going there instead, and that's making up for it all?
Yeah, you know, there are a lot of folks that I know who are on the left side of the aisle who ran over to Blue Sky or ran over to Threads, but
there it is. See, they ran over to the echo chamber of Blue Sky. And actually, when I post something on Instagram, they have it set up to where you post it on Instagram and it'll show up on your Facebook page and it'll show up on your Threads, right? I think you just automatically get a Threads account if you're on Instagram, to my understanding. I don't remember. It's been a while. But there's a lot of liberals on Threads. You know, Threads is like the answer to X. Right? That's what they wanted. That's where they did Threads. It's like the answer to X. And man, they are very, very nasty on Threads. They really are.
Here's the deal, Johnny O. The bottom line is those are minuscule compared to Twitter or X.
Yep.
Use this social media in 2025. 21% of Americans are on Twitter or X. Threads, it's just 8%. Blue Sky, even smaller, just 4%. You add together the 4 plus the 8, that gets you to 12%. That is only about half the level that are on Twitter/X. So as Twitter/X has gone to the right, yes, there are people, as Johnny moves away from me, from the left, who have come over and started to use either Threads or Blue Sky, but that does not have the megaphone, as my voice is oftentimes, that Twitter/X does. So the bottom line, that Twitter/X has become much more further right, has been a real difference maker in terms of what folks are hearing when they go into the social media real world. You know,
how is it that Twitter X allowing free speech means that they're going to the right? Did y'all catch that? That's essentially what he's saying. Because Twitter X is allowing free speech simply means that it's leaning more towards the right. How is that not a problem? How is that not an issue? Is it just me? Oh my goodness. They just laid it out right there. How dare you go to the right and allow free speech? Because you're allowing free speech, it must be going to the right. Must be. Wow. Okay, everybody. That is it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you could, again, let me ask you one more time. I'm like drilling this in. If you could, please go to my website. And uniteamericafirst.com, which you see it down at the bottom. Download this letter. Send the letter in. One of us will make it to President Trump's desk. If we can get just 100 people out of all the people watching this, it will get to President Trump's desk. One of us. It could be yours. It's almost like the lotto, right? It could be yours. So I'm asking you, please help me out by sending this letter to President Trump to get it on his desk. And another reason why I did this, let me just tell you how to get there. For those of you that don't know, if you go directly to my website, uniteamericafirst.com, just like you see it down there at the bottom, just like you see it right there, right? uniteamericafirst.com. As soon as you get there, all you have to do is just scroll down a little bit. Even if you're on a mobile device, just scroll down a little bit and you can see it right here. help me reach President Trump over government big tech tyranny. I'm going to add the government part in there. Government big tech tyranny. Just download the PDF, print it out, and mail it. Sign it and mail it. And this is what it is right here. You can go through there and you can read exactly. And look, this is not my complete story, but I didn't want to make it a book. I wanted to make it as short as possible because I know President Trump is a busy man. And if he has the time, if he takes 4 minutes and read this, because President Trump can read really fast. If he takes 4 minutes, 5 minutes even, and just take the time to read this, we might be able to see huge change for all of us in the country. And see, I'm not going there saying, well, if you read the letter, it's not just, hey, President Trump, help Will Johnson. It's the American people. And what made me think about writing this letter is because Google and apparently Meta just all agreed to pay President Trump millions of dollars because they removed him. Remember from 2020? They removed President Trump unlawfully. He was the sitting president of the United States. And my whole point is, if they did it then, and the Democrats are successful in taking back the House and the Senate, they're going to impeach President Trump. And the tyranny, you thought the tyranny was bad before, they're going to come with full communist tactics on the next round. So I'm just asking President Trump, help all of us. They're already admitted to paying you millions of dollars because what they did to you. All we're asking for is for them to stop. Would we like to get the compensation for the money that they've taken away from us? Have they hurt us? Yeah, sure. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. They can afford it. Multi-billion-dollar companies. All we're asking is that they stop. Allow us to make a living. Allow us to have our voices in the virtual public square. That's all that we're asking. That's all that we're asking. So please download the letter. Download the letter. Maybe yours will be the one that reaches President Trump's desk. And I don't know if anyone else has done this. Y'all can let me know in the chat. God bless everyone. I'll see you just over an hour on my show on Culture Wars. You can see that right here on my website too. Going to UnitedAmericaFirst.com. You can see it right there. Culture Wars, 2 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Monday through Friday. You can tune in right there and you'll be able to see it. All right, everybody. God bless. And God bless you for all of you that's going to help me out by downloading the letter and sending it in. God bless you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for sharing this video even. Thank you so much for all of your generation. And if you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up. No matter how you're watching this, hit the thumbs up, hit the red pill, hit the heart. Please share this video. Share this video. The right person will see the video and they will have a connection to a group of people that will take the letters and they will send them for me. I don't know who this group is, but I know there's one out there. I know there's several out there. If you know that group, send it to them. Say, hey, do you think this is something we can do to help Will Johnson out? I'm begging you, as a believer in Christ, I'm asking God's people to help me. God bless everyone. I will see you on the flip side. Take care.